Good morning. Let's get started. I'm Skip Reimer, Executive Director of Programs and Communications for the Milken Institute. I'm delighted to host our final group of three Innovator presentations this morning. The first will be a partnership with the Melanoma Research Alliance and Pfizer, which are working together to hand off the baton of promising research funded by the Foundation to speed commercialization of potential treatments and cures. And we have two presenters this morning. The first is Wendy Selig. She is President and CEO of the Melanoma Research Alliance, an organization that supports innovative research worldwide to accelerate progress toward a cure for melanoma. And she'll be followed by Julia Perkins, who is the Medical Director of Oncology at Pfizer. So, Wendy?
Morning, everybody. I know it's been an exhausting couple of days, and so appreciate you being here. And thank you, Skip, for having us here. Okay, let's see if I can get this to work. There we go. Okay, so if you've been to this conference in prior years, you've come to some of these sessions, you may have seen the Melanoma Research Alliance in some of these fora, and we really appreciate the opportunity working with the Milken Institute. We're actually in the Milken Institute family. We're sort of a living, breathing embodiment of a lot of what Faster Cures is all about in terms of new ways of thinking about philanthropy and moving forward in a disease space. So our particular focus and mission is to eliminate the suffering and death due to melanoma, which if you don't know, you should know, is a very serious and growing problem. We were founded in 2007 by Deborah and Leon Black, working with Mike Milken, and Mike is actually a very valued member of our board, and we work very closely, as I said, with Margaret and her whole team at Faster Cures, and with Skip and his whole team at the Milken Institute. To date, we have funded close to $50 million, more than $48 million in cutting-edge translational melanoma research around the world. We're in 14 or 15 countries now. We're in the middle of our grant cycle for next year's awards, and we plan to award between $8 and $10 million in that cycle. So we're very excited about what's going on. And our focus in the science, our particular niche is we define translational science for melanoma as research that can yield near-term clinical impact, and we define near-term clinical impact to 2 to 3 years. So most of our funding goes into preclinical and early clinical work, and less so in the basic research space. So as I mentioned, melanoma is a very serious and growing problem, and we are sort of focused laser-like on this issue. Primarily, we're focused in the area of treatment for advanced disease. This is an aggressive cancer that once it has metastasized, prognosis is very poor for most patients, and we have incidence rising dramatically. And as you can see, the red line going up on this graph, and even though the data points end at 2010, incidence is still continuing to rise, and we have a lot of work still to do there. Also, melanoma, in addition to how important it is for all of us, we were talking yesterday at our board meeting about how everyone has skin in the game with melanoma. Everyone has skin. Everyone is at risk for melanoma. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter where you live. But also, melanoma is at a very interesting point scientifically. We are at the crossroads of a lot of the most exciting science right now in molecular biology and in immunology. Whereas for decades there was little new in melanoma, just over the last several years we've had 4 new drugs come to market for melanoma. And we are one of the most exciting hot topics at the ASCO conference and other major cancer meetings. Finally, there is breakthrough happening. And we're also a case study for what's going on in companion diagnostics and biomarkers. So in a lot of ways, while the disease numbers are small but growing, we have lessons that can be learned for other cancers as well. So we're here today to talk about a particular mechanism that MRA funds. It's called the Academic Industry Partnership Award. We generally fund our dollars in grants to academic research institutions, but we recognize how important a stakeholder industry can be. And by industry, I mean large pharma, small biotech, device companies, and everyone in between. Really critical to have all the great minds in all the different arenas working together. So this program is designed to use our philanthropic dollars to leverage against those that are in the for-profit space. And you can see we're about catalyzing interactions. We're about accelerating the contacts. You've heard a lot at this meeting about the collaboration between academia and industry. And we see a very, very important role that we can play in the nonprofit space in facilitating and accelerating that and leveraging our dollars. And of course, very important to us is expediting the sharing that can go on earlier in the process so that we're not wasting time, saving lives by saving time, right? Isn't that our theme? So the strategy here is not rocket science, but actually something that's a fairly unique model. So our dollars flow through the academic researcher. The academic researcher stays right in the middle of the equation, but we bring in an industry partner, and often it's the academic who brings the partner, or we might be working with a company, and through our connections with the company and the community of scientists, we're bringing them together. And then we ultimately will take a proposal from that academic, run it through our expert peer review process for grant review. And if it rises to the top and it has an industry partner who has committed from the beginning to be involved, then we will leverage our dollars and match funding with that industry partner in a one-to-one basis. And the industry funding, the industry support can either be in terms of funding or in kind. They can provide drug, they can provide other resources beyond dollars. So we've been doing this since 2010, and over that time, we have seen a steady increase in the number of proposals and also an expansion of the variety of proposals we've received involving different companies of shapes and sizes in different space. We have awarded to date 8 of these, and 2 of them, really exciting, had a new twist, and those are the ones that Julia and I are talking to you about today with Pfizer. And the difference with the Pfizer proposals are that together we went to the community and said it was a little bit more directed than what MRA has done in the past. It had to do with a particular area of the science, a particular mechanism of action, and in this case, a particular compound that Pfizer was already working with, and that our melanoma scientific community was quite excited about being a potentially important mechanism for melanoma. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Julia. And I just want to say we are so pleased and grateful for the partnership that we have with Pfizer. They have been terrific partners. Julia and her colleagues have believed in this from the very beginning. And it goes to a lot of what we've heard here at this meeting, that when you have people on all sides of these collaborations who believe in the power of that collaboration, amazing things can happen. Pfizer's a big company, but we were able to launch this mechanism working with them in just a matter of 2 to 3 months. So when there's a good thing to happen and there are good people who want to make it happen, a lot can get done. So thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. And I think that to echo that excitement, it is a big company, and it's not all that common that things happen that quickly. So I think there was a real passion for this project, and we're thrilled to be partnering with you. So just briefly to talk, Pfizer has a strong focus on innovation to bring therapies to patients that will help better their lives. And specifically, the oncology business unit has had a very exciting last couple of years. We've brought 3 new therapies to market across lung cancer, hematology, and RCC. But we also have a strong pipeline of agents right now that we're particularly excited about to see how it can benefit additional patients, additional tumor types. And that's really the focus that I want to talk about today. So specifically, Cdk4 Six Inhibition talk a bit about this quickly. So cyclin-dependent kinases, or CDKs, are key regulators of the sequential progression through the cell cycle, from G1 to S to G2 to M phases. Deregulation of this otherwise orderly process has been shown to contribute to the development of a variety of tumor types. And preclinical models have shown that inhibition of Cdk4 and 6 may help to control tumor growth in a variety of tumors. Specifically, palbociclib is an oral inhibitor of Cdk4 and 6 and inhibits cell proliferation and cellular DNA synthesis by preventing the progression from the G1 to the S phase of the cell cycle. There's been some early preclinical research that has shown activity in melanoma, but it is not yet in clinical trials. And I think that it's this early signal that really speaks to why a partnership between Pfizer and the Melanoma Research Alliance may accelerate the preclinical science of Cdk4 inhibition in melanoma. And it also speaks to the potential to further understand melanoma biology and the advances that we could possibly make in a new therapeutic target. As far as the process, it hasn't been a long process, as Wendy said. There was strong enthusiasm from both sides. There was a request for proposals announced just over a year ago in August of last year, and an agreement between Pfizer and MRA to support one excellent proposal of scientific merit with matching financial support from both sides. The proposals were due in November, so just a year ago, and they needed a letter of support from Pfizer. 6 excellent proposals were received by MRA and reviewed by their grant review committee in February of this year. However, when the reviews progressed, there were 2 that were found to be equally, compelling and of interest, and therefore, jointly, we decided to fund both. So I want to tell you a little bit about the exciting science that is going to move forward in the coming years. These 2 distinct awards are quite complementary in my mind. The first is Martin Mcman at University of California, San Francisco. He plans to study the role of Cdk4 Six in melanoma, utilizing genetically engineered mouse models of BRAF-mutated melanoma to test the potential for Cdk4 Six inhibitors in combination with BRAF inhibitors. It is my hope that this study will give us a mechanistic foundation for the implementation of rational combination therapy in this disease. The second is Andrew Aplin at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. He plans to define biomarkers for response to Cdk4 Six inhibitors and analyze the potential of these drugs to treat melanomas that are resistant to BRAF inhibition. And this, I hope, will provide a stratified biomarker, rational-driven approach to clinical trials in the future. I think that it is with great enthusiasm that we entered into this partnership. I'm very happy also that Wendy invited us here to speak to you today. And with that, I'm actually going to hand it back over to Wendy to talk to you about some exciting future MRA milestones.
So I want to just give you a little more flavor about sort of how this all came to be, because I think that it really is a model for all of us to consider as we're breaking down some of the barriers among the sectors. So you saw the timeline that Julia showed you, but from the time that we released the proposal. But really, this sort of grew organically from a poster that was presented at an ASCO meeting in May or June by an investigator who was looking at this particular mechanism and this particular compound, which Pfizer has been investing in this compound in another indication, which is great. And that poster caught the attention of people in the community and also within Pfizer, and that's really where we got to talking. So that was at the end of May, beginning of June. So between June, when the first conversations happened, and August, when we had our agreement with Pfizer and we went out to the community. So I just think it's the art of the possible, and I'm just really grateful to Pfizer, and we are excited about this kind of model with other companies. and especially keeping the academic community very much involved in the mix here. The excitement from the academic community, I think, was also a really great testament on both sides. I mean, we heard from the folks at Pfizer that they were delighted by the type of proposals that came in, and these were not necessarily projects or ideas that they were going to go out and get without a process like this. So, and then the fact that we had all agreed we were going to fund one, and when it came right down to it, we all went back to our piggy banks and said, gosh, can we fund two? And so I think this is kind of a way for the future. So just to let you know, I mentioned that we are moving forward at MRA. We have an open request for proposals, which includes this academic industry partnership mechanism. Wherever I go, I talk about the Pfizer model, and whenever I talk to my friends in other companies, we're quite interested in that. Frankly, we're also interested in working this way with other foundations. It doesn't have to be melanoma foundations. I mean, there's so much happening mechanistically in oncology that it could be another disease state. So we are very excited about where we're headed, and we look forward to sharing more in coming years with you about the results of the science in this partnership, but also additional models for partnerships. So I think that that's good. We could take some questions.
If you have a question, just raise your hand and shout it out. So, give them a few minutes.
Hi, this is very impressive. I'm Anna Back from the Children's Tumor Foundation. I was wondering how you managed to figure out the IP between Pfizer and the academic groups. Because I've seen some trouble getting that done.
Right.
Is that a difficult thing?
No, it actually was not a difficult thing. I mean, I think there's some uniqueness in this case because the compound itself, the IP on that compound is very clear. It's moving along in another indication within Pfizer. And also MRA's perspective on those issues has been very much not to complicate things. So our agreement with the awardee is the institution. Pfizer has its own agreement with the institution, and our funds flow from each of us to the institution. So we did not have to really get into a lot of back and forth with the company, and I think that's part of the reason we were able to move so quickly, frankly, because there wasn't a lot of murkiness there. Well, with the so the academic institution, we have a lot of history with working with these academic institutions because we have funded them before. So we have our standard terms and conditions with those institutions, and it's all very, very well established. Pfizer had to negotiate its process with them, but honestly, I think the fact that we were waiting for them to get that done before the money would flow helped to move that forward on their end as well, and we served as a little bit of a grease in the wheel for that part too. That might not have happened otherwise. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay. Thank you everybody. Thank you for being here.